A fighter-sized contact appears on a radar screen. No transponder signal, no flight plan, no communication. It's flying low, below 500 feet, hugging the terrain to avoid detection. It's moving at over 600 miles per hour, and it's headed straight for one of the most contested airspace corridors on the planet. Most air defense systems would need another 90 seconds to classify the threat. Lock-on would take 3 minutes. A scramble order, another 2. By the time a conventional Air Force reacted, that aircraft would already be past the border, past the intercept window, and inside the kill zone. But here's what that pilot didn't know. The US Air Force saw it the moment it left the ground. The sky has changed. For most of the 20th century, air superiority meant one thing: more planes, better pilots, higher altitude. You owned the sky by showing up in it. That era is over. Today's threats don't follow the old rules. Modern adversaries have spent decades and hundreds of billions of dollars studying exactly how the United States fights. And they've built weapons designed specifically to exploit every gap in conventional defense. What does that look like? Stealth aircraft that absorb radar signals instead of reflecting them. Hypersonic missiles that travel at Mach 10, so fast that a target has less than 60 seconds from detection to impact. Ballistic missiles that maneuver during descent, making them nearly impossible to intercept with traditional systems. Drone swarms, hundreds of low-cost unmanned vehicles launched simultaneously, designed not to win a single engagement, but to overwhelm and exhaust a defense network. And then there's the electronic warfare dimension. Modern adversaries can jam radar signals, spoof GPS coordinates, and blind communication systems, all without firing a single conventional weapon. The sky is no longer a simple battlefield. It is a multi-domain, high-speed, contested environment where the difference between victory and catastrophe can be measured in seconds. Traditional air defense, ground-based radar, scrambled fighters, manual command chains, was built for a different war. Against these threats, it's not slow, it's obsolete. So how does the United States Air Force answer that? Here's the answer, and it's not what most people expect. The US Air Force didn't build a single powerful weapon to counter these threats. They built a network, a layered, interconnected architecture of satellites, aircraft, sensors, software, and human expertise that operates simultaneously across every altitude, every domain, every theater of war, in real time. No single system catches everything. But together, nothing gets through. What we're about to break down is that network, layer by layer. Each system is a response to a real threat. Each capability was forged from a real vulnerability. By the end of this, you won't just understand what the US Air Force can do, you'll understand why no other Air Force on Earth comes close. It's 0400, still dark. Somewhere over the Pacific, a formation of unidentified aircraft is moving toward a US ally's coastline. They're flying in tight formation, below commercial traffic altitude, and they've turned off their transponders. Ground-based radar at the coast picks up fragmented returns. The signal is broken, unreliable. The operators aren't sure what they're seeing. They need more time they don't have. But there's already an aircraft overhead that's been watching those contacts for the last 40 minutes. The E-3 Sentry AWACS, Airborne Warning and Control System. This isn't a fighter, it's a flying command center. A converted Boeing 707 with a 30-foot rotating radar dome on its back that can track hundreds of aircraft simultaneously, at ranges up to 400 miles in every direction. Where ground radar is limited by the horizon and terrain, AWACS operates above all of it. It sees threats that no surface system can detect. It talks to fighters, ships, ground commanders, and allied forces simultaneously. When that formation started moving, AWACS was already painting a complete tactical picture. It knew the count, the speed, the heading, and the probable intent, before anyone on the ground had even issued an alert. And here's what makes it even more powerful. AWACS doesn't just see, it controls. The aircraft acts as an airborne director, coordinating intercepts, managing airspace, and routing information to every asset in the theater. It's the conductor of the orchestra. Without AWACS, you have individual fighters reacting to isolated threats. With AWACS, you have a unified, coordinated response before the threat ever reaches its target. But AWACS has a limit. It needs to be in the right place, at the right time, to see the right threat. What about the threats it can't reach? What about a missile launch on the other side of the planet, detected not in minutes, but in seconds? This is where the network goes vertical. The US Space-Based Infrared System, SBIRS. SBIRS is a constellation of satellites in geosynchronous and highly elliptical orbits. Their sensors are calibrated to detect the infrared signature of a missile launch, the heat bloom of rocket exhaust, almost instantaneously after ignition. Before that missile clears the launch pad, SBIRS has already detected the launch, calculated the trajectory, shared the data with ground stations and airborne assets. The response chain begins before most adversaries even know their launch has been observed. This isn't surveillance. This is strategic early warning at a global scale. It compresses the decision timeline for U.S. commanders and extends the response window for every asset in theater. Combined with intelligence satellites that provide persistent overhead coverage, the Air Force maintains a real-time operational picture of adversary movements, not just in the air, but on runways, in hangars, and in missile silos. Around the clock, around the world. The enemy hasn't even decided to act. The Air Force is already watching. Now we arrive at the most visible part of the network, the fighter. But this is where the story gets complicated, because the U.S. Air Force's stealth fighters aren't just weapons. They are sensors, data nodes, and decision makers all at once. Picture this scenario. An adversary deploys its most advanced air defense network, layered S-400 and S-500 missile systems, long-range radar, fighter cover, the kind of integrated air defense architecture that would make any conventional strike mission suicidal. Conventional aircraft can't penetrate it. You'd lose planes before you ever got close, so you don't send conventional aircraft. The F-22 Raptor enters the airspace first. It is effectively invisible. Its radar cross-section, the measure of how visible an aircraft is to radar, is roughly the size of a marble. At operational range, adversary radar systems see nothing but noise. But the F-22 sees everything. It collects radar emissions, tracks threats, and builds a picture of the entire enemy air defense network without ever being detected. That picture is shared with the F-35. The F-35 Lightning II, deployed in larger numbers, acts as the networked strike node. It carries advanced sensors, electronic warfare capabilities, and precision weapons. But its real power is integration. The F-35 fuses data from every source: satellite feeds, AWACS data links, the F-22's sensor picture, and presents the pilot with a single unified battle space display. The F-35 pilot doesn't just know where the enemy is. They know where every friendly asset is, what every threat system is doing, and what the optimal engagement solution looks like, in real time. Together, the F-22 and F-35 don't just enter denied airspace. They dismantle it, systematically, surgically, and without warning. Now, here's where most air forces would lose. Imagine this. It's not one threat. It's everything, at once. In the east, a stealth bomber enters contested airspace at low altitude. From the south, 12 ballistic missiles launch simultaneously from mobile platforms. Their trajectories calculated to arrive on target within a 90-second window. From the west, a swarm of 200 autonomous drones, launched from a cargo vessel, begins flooding a coastal approach corridor. And buried inside all of it, an electronic warfare campaign, GPS spoofing, radar jamming, communication blackout, designed to isolate every U.S. system and make them fight blind. This is a coordinated, multi-axis, multi-domain saturation attack. Against most air defense architectures, it works. You overwhelm the system, you exhaust the interceptors, you create gaps, and you push through them. But the United States Air Force has a word for this kind of attack. They call it a targeting problem. Here's why. The moment that coordinated attack begins, the ABMS, Advanced Battle Management System, activates. This is the Air Force's command and control backbone. It connects every sensor, every shooter, every commander across every domain in real time. Satellites, AWACS, F-35s, ground-based radar, cyber assets, all of it, one unified network. The ABMS doesn't just pass information. It assigns threats. It allocates interceptors. It routes data to the platform best positioned to respond, automatically, at machine speed, faster than any human command chain. The drone swarm is met by directed energy systems and networked interceptors. The ballistic missiles are tracked from launch by SBIRS and handed off to missile defense batteries with precise intercept solutions. The stealth bomber, already being quietly tracked by passive sensors, is met by an F-22 it never saw coming. And the electronic warfare campaign? The Air Force anticipated it. Redundant communication paths, frequency hopping systems, cyber countermeasures already deployed. What looked like a war-winning coordinated strike turned into a coordinated failure. There's one capability that rarely gets attention, but without it, everything we just described collapses. Range. A fighter jet is only as effective as its fuel supply. Even the most advanced F-22 has a combat radius. Push beyond it, and you're vulnerable, or you're retreating. The KC-46 Pegasus and KC-135 Stratotanker solve this problem. Aerial refueling aircraft that can extend the range of fighters, bombers, and surveillance planes indefinitely. They turn a regional air force into a global one. An F-35 that would otherwise have to return to base after 2 hours of combat operations can instead refuel at altitude, in the middle of a mission, and continue. The tanker fleet is what gives the U.S. Air Force its global reach. The ability to operate not just over American territory or near American bases, but anywhere on the planet, sustained, for as long as the mission requires. In a world where adversaries are building long-range missile systems specifically designed to push American forces back, the tanker answers with one word: irrelevant. Not every mission requires a pilot. The MQ-9 Reaper is the Air Force's premier hunter-killer drone. It can loiter over a target area for 24 hours. It carries precision strike weapons, and it can be piloted from thousands of miles away. But the Reaper represents only the visible edge of the Air Force's unmanned capabilities. The next generation, the MQ Next, and collaborative combat aircraft programs are designed to fly alongside manned fighters as loyal wingmen, autonomous drones that extend the reach and lethality of every F-22 and F-35 in the air. They absorb risk. They expand sensor coverage. They create tactical flexibility that no manned-only force can match. An adversary tracking 5 F-35s doesn't know about the 10 autonomous wingmen flying in a dispersed pattern around them, each one feeding data, carrying weapons, and ready to strike. The unmanned layer doesn't replace the pilot. It multiplies them. Now pull back. Look at the whole picture. A satellite detects a launch. It feeds data to ABMS in milliseconds. AWACS, already airborne and on station, refines the track and routes intercept vectors to F-22s and F-35s. Tankers ensure they have the fuel to execute. Drones fill the gaps and extend sensor reach. Ground-based radar fills in the low-altitude picture. And at the center of all of it, human commanders, backed by machine speed decision support, directing the entire network with clarity and precision. No single point of failure, no single system that an adversary can target and collapse. This is not a collection of platforms. This is a system of systems, designed to operate as one. Every sensor talks to every shooter. Every asset is networked. Every threat is seen and answered. The U.S. Air Force calls this concept JADC2, Joint All-Domain Command and Control. The idea that command and control must work not just within the Air Force, but across the Army, Navy, Marines, and allied nations simultaneously. When it functions at full capability, it creates something adversaries have never been able to solve, a battlefield where the United States already has a complete picture, and the enemy is operating blind. The United States Air Force has been the dominant air power on Earth for over 75 years, not because of luck, not because of geography, because of relentless investment in the right capabilities at the right time, because of pilots and crews who train harder than any other air force in the world, and because of engineers, scientists, and planners who looked at every emerging threat, every new missile, every new stealth aircraft, every new electronic warfare system, and built an answer before the question was even fully formed. The systems we've walked through today are not theoretical. They are deployed, they are operational, and they are improving every year in every domain. The world has changed dramatically since the Cold War. The threats have multiplied and evolved, and the United States Air Force has evolved with them, always staying one step ahead. This is what air superiority looks like in the 21st century. Not dominance through numbers alone, dominance through awareness, through speed, through integration. The United States Air Force doesn't just control the skies. They've built a network so complete, so layered, and so lethal that any adversary attempting to operate in contested airspace doesn't just face a threat. They face a system designed from the ground up to see them, track them, and eliminate them, before they ever knew the engagement had begun. The sky belongs to the United States Air Force. It always has.